Before we talk Jadon Sancho, you heard what Rory had to say about him. You probably heard what I had to say about him as well. I want to quickly jump to this Marcus Rashford situation. Look, it's a year left on his contract. They can extend it for another year, but in theory, he has got a year left, right? Why is there no rush to get this done? Why is no one concerned? I feel like I'm more concerned than a lot of United fans. Is it just because you expect him to sign, or that second year can be triggered? What's the reasoning?
I mean, I'm hoping it's because we expect him to sign, because I think Marcus Rashford leaving Manchester United would be a disaster. I think he's been a fantastic player. He's probably my favourite player. You look at the amount of goals he scored last season as well. He's a player that's actually progressing under Erik Ten Hag. And you saw how gutted Rory was when Mason Mount left. I'd be even more despondent if Marcus Rashford left Manchester United, believe me. So I'm hoping that's the reason. I think there was sort of rumours, or I think Erik Ten Hag mentioned the fact that he was feeling confident that they can sit down and get something done. A few months ago, he said, at the end of the season, we'll sort it. So, yeah, I think that's the reason. I hope it is. And I think now we just need to, Manchester United and Marcus Rashford just need to sit down and get him tied down to a long-term deal. I don't want a one-year extension. I want to see Marcus Rashford had signed, a 4-year deal, keeping at the club till his late 20s, because I just want to see Marcus Rashford play for Manchester United until he retires. I think he's a great player and someone that loves the club and someone that's come through the academy. And I think if we keep Marcus Rashford, bring in some good players and keep this manager, we've got a good chance of seeing Marcus Rashford lift the title before he does retire.
Jay, where do you think Marcus Rashford's best position is? Because obviously we've seen him do it in a number of positions. Do you feel like he is a wide player, or do you ultimately think that he's going to play down the middle for Manchester United?
I think his best position is on the left coming in. I think that's always been his best position, but I was never a fan of Marcus Rashford down the middle, if I'm being brutally honest. But I do think he's had some good games there for Erik Ten Hag. Now, a lot may depend on who we bring in the summer, because if we don't bring in a striker, which is unlikely but not impossible, we might not bring in anyone, then I can see Marcus Rashford playing down the middle, because I think on the left-hand side, you've got Jadon Sancho, you've got Alejandro Garnacho as well, who can play there. So you've got options, maybe even Diallo, I think, is another option. We haven't got a lot of options through the middle. So Marcus Rashford may end up getting used there, but for me, bring in a striker and put Marcus on the left-hand side, because I think that's where he plays his best football.
Yeah, for what it's worth, I do think Marcus Rashford will sign another contract. Obviously, look, PSG has been linked, but he's a United boy. I expect him to stay there for the rest of his career. Jadon Sancho, how does Erik Ten Hag kickstart his career? Last season wasn't the season. We saw flashes. I remember the game against Liverpool, scored a great goal, but we don't see enough for the price. He should be in the England squad. We know the best Jadon Sancho should be in and around the squad at least. Not so far, not so good for United. How does he kickstart it?
It's a good question, that. I mean, he tried everything last season. He gave him a break, didn't he? I think Jadon Sancho was going through it a little bit. He went away for a couple of months, came back, did okay, had some good games, and then he seemed to tail off a little bit. I think with Jadon Sancho now, he's just, a lot of it depends on the player, not just the manager. He's got to get his head down. He's got to, try and just do what he did at Dortmund, do what he does best. He's a very talented player, Jadon Sancho. He's still very young. And if you listen to his coach, we've seen it with the likes of Marcus Rashford, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Luke Shaw. Erik Ten Hag can get the best out of you. So I think if he works with Erik Ten Hag, then we can see Jadon Sancho get back to the player we saw at Dortmund and we've seen sporadically at Manchester United.
Jay, what are you hoping is the starting lineup? If everything goes to plan next year, I said just before you came on air, I said that I think Garnacho is now a better player than Jadon Sancho. Is that accurate or too harsh?
I think that's a fair comment, to be honest with you. I think the one thing with Garnacho is he's very explosive off the bench. He comes off the bench. You saw it in the Manchester derby at Old Trafford. To be fair, you saw it in the FA Cup final. We've seen it in several games. I think the Fulham game where he got that last-minute winner, he comes off the bench. He gets a goal. He gets in behind the defence. He absolutely terrorised the City defence at Old Trafford. And I don't think he got enough credit for that, because all the focus was on about Bruno Fernandes and that goal that shouldn't have counted and all the rest of it. But I think in terms of starting, I think it's quite close between him and Jadon Sancho. I think there's more pressure on Sancho because he cost a lot of money, and we've seen what he can do at Dortmund. He hasn't really recreated that. Whereas Garnacho, 19 years old, come through the academy, he's got this sort of devil-may-care attitude. There's less pressure on him. But I think, to be honest with you, if you were to ask most United fans, a lot of United fans I speak to would rather see Alejandro Garnacho start with Jadon Sancho, which tells its own story, really.
Do you think your forward line, so just your forwards here, I think you've got a good enough midfield now and you look like you're still going to make improvements defensively. Do you think your forward line, especially if you get Højlund, a lot of people are talking about this kid, so it's Anthony, it's Sancho, it's Martial, it's Garnacho, is that good enough for a title run?
For a title run, I'm not sure.
Because that's what United should be in it, Jay. This is where your club should be, right? We're not talking League Cups. We're not talking, just getting into the Champions League. United should be trying to win the league.
100%. Of course, United should be trying to win the league. I think that should be the sort of the expectation at the club. And for too long, it's not been. It's been, let's have a title challenge or be in the conversation or win a trophy or get into the Champions League. And at times, it's a little bit embarrassing, especially when I look down the road and I see what Manchester City are doing, albeit with 115 charges hanging over him. So you want Manchester United to be challenging for titles. And I think that when you mention those players, probably not quite there. Højlund would need to kick on. Had we brought in a Harry Kane, I know that's a big if, then I'd have said, yeah, Rashford, Kane, Sancho, Garnacho, that's an attack where you've got options and that you could challenge for a title. With Højlund, I'm not so sure, but he's only young. If he does kick on, if Rashford carries on playing like he has been playing under Erik Ten Hag, then maybe there's a situation where in a year's time we look like we're a bit more ready. But for me, I know it's pretty obvious. We just need to spend some more money on our attack. Even someone like Højlund is a great signing if he comes, but we need more than that. I think we need 2 strikers. I know it's highly unlikely, but I've been saying that for ages. United need more than just one out-and-out striker. We can't count on Martial. I've just said that, Rashford's best position on the left. We should have 2 number 9s fighting for that position, not just one.
Jay, how are you feeling about the potential of signing Sofyan Amrabat? He's a brilliant player. I just wonder how much you need him, considering that you've got Casemiro.
Well, I think the problem with Casemiro is we sort of run him into the ground a little bit. He got suspended a lot last season as well. I don't think that happens very often for him, to be fair. But I think he played more games last season than he's played in the last 10 years or something. He played about 50-odd games or something, I read, which was more than he played at Madrid, which surprised me. But we need another option because we're so reliant on Casemiro. We have to keep playing him. And then when he gets suspended, we're in all sorts of trouble. Now, hopefully, like I said earlier, he won't keep getting suspended. But I think you do need someone, especially when you've got those Champions League games where you can go, okay, even if you're not rotating him, just taking him off for, after an hour or whatever. When you've got someone with real quality who can come in, that could be an option because the drop-off from Casemiro to someone like McTominay, who's a decent player, is such a big drop-off. I don't think it's really viable to keep swapping him. I think you need a better player than someone like McTominay or even Fred to come in, and maybe Amrabat is that. I don't know a lot about the kid, but he did well in the World Cup. And obviously, if Erik Ten Hag wants him, there's a reason behind it.
Jay, I want to quickly go back. Sorry, I know we touched on it there. I just want to quickly go back to the striker issue that United are having at the moment. Look, if you get the young kid Højlund in, he could just hit it off, couldn't he? We don't know. I mean, him under Ten Hag, a new league, he might just be the guy. But what's gone wrong with United in terms of sort of finding that number 9? Obviously, there's been the Mason Greenwood situation. Looks like he might go on loan at Atalanta. But there's always been this filling a hole for about a season, whether it be Wout Weghorst, the season before with Garlo, Cavani, Zlatan, Ronaldo. There's never been like this long 7-year stretch of a number 9. Why is that?
I think we tried to make that happen, didn't we, with Lukaku? I know he came in after Zlatan, and that didn't really pan out the way we wanted it to.
True.
Since then, there's been a lot of short-termism. It's like, Cavani's still, he's a good player. He's still got a season or 2 in him. He's a free agent. Let's get him. Let's bring Ronaldo back. Like you said, Igalo. I mean, he was a likeable figure, but he shouldn't have been at Manchester United, in my opinion. The same with Wout Weghorst. It was a bit embarrassing, for want of a better word, in January when United are fighting on 4 fronts and you're seeing clubs going out, spending lots of money, and United bringing Wout Weghorst to try and lead the line for us, and he doesn't end up with a Premier League goal. I think there's just been this sort of lack of funds being released by the Glazers, a bit of short-termism where you think, he's a good player, he'll do for now. And I think there's been maybe getting our fingers burnt a little bit with the Lukaku deal, where we spent a lot of money on him. Didn't really work out. We ended up taking a loss. But for me, if you're going to challenge for a title, which is where United need to be, you have to go out, you have to spend big on a striker, and you have to buy a striker who's younger than 33 years old and has got more than 2 seasons in him.
Sadio Mane's 32, 20 million. Would you take him?
As much as I love winding up Liverpool fans, not for me, to be honest with you. I think that's the only reason to sign him. It wouldn't be like signing Mason Mount where you think he's got a future. I think it'd just be like, let's wind up a few Scousers. So I think we need to start looking at players that aren't coming to the end of the career, because a lot of them are sort of winding down when we get them as well. You need a hungry, young striker or someone who's coming into the peak who can bang in goals and do it for more than just a season or 2.
What do you make of the signing so far? How confident are you at the start of the season? We haven't got long to go, 4.5 weeks, 5 weeks. What are you thinking?
I mean, Mason Mount's obviously a good signing. We've been linked with Andre Onana. I think he's going to make a massive difference, because I think De Gea's levels have dropped off a little bit over he's gradually been getting less reliable over the last 5 years, to be honest with you. So I think that's going to make a huge difference. It's just the striker, man. We need a number 9. We need someone to come in. Now, if that's Højlund, that's a massive step in the right direction. But if we don't get a striker, I think we're going to struggle to replicate a top 3 finish, a top 3 finish like we did last season. I think it's going to be really tough, especially with the Champions League games coming as well. So, yeah, we need to get that number 9. Otherwise, we're going to be in all sorts of trouble.
You certainly do. Jay, as always, my man, appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much. Jay Motty there from the Stretford Paddock. Just always feel a bit flat when United sort of talk about their signings. Nothing seems to be, in terms of that big number 9. Again, maybe it's because we're of the age, Rory, where we remember them sort of, if they want a number 9, they're getting their number 9 they want. There is no conversation around it. They're just going to splash the cash. Not so much anymore.
That could still happen.
Yeah, it could still.
That could still happen. I think that there's a long way to go in this transfer window, you know.
Oh, I think there's so many more twists and turns. I really do.
I just don't see a world where Manchester United, they improve their squad. Like, the entire tide has risen at Manchester United with the signing of Mason Mount, sorting out the goalkeeping issue. They are a striker away from giving Ten Hag everything he needs to play the football that he dreams of. Like, he needed a new goalkeeper. He can never play proper Ten Hag football with David De Gea. That is now sorted. They needed somebody a little bit more ferocious in the middle. They've got Mason Mount instead of Christian Eriksen to elevate their midfield. The one thing that they now need is a striker. And if they get that, Erik Ten Hag has everything that he needs.
It's game on. Honestly, they get a number 9, you're right. It's game on.